prepare to be shocked. Imagine losing everything. Your home, your business, your sense of security, all washed away in a devastating flood. You've paid your premiums diligently for years, trusting that when disaster strikes, your insurance company will be there to pick up the pieces. But what if, in your darkest hour, that trust is shattered? What if the very lifeline you've invested in turns its back on you, leaving you stranded, homeless, and hopeless? This isn't a fictional nightmare. It's the grim reality unfolding for countless Texans in the wake of relentless floods. A silent crisis is brewing, one where rising insurance denials are not just causing financial hardship, but actively pushing families onto the streets, fueling a catastrophic surge in homelessness across the Lone Star State. The deluge of despair. When waters rise and hope dries up, Texas, a state synonymous with vast landscapes and a resilient spirit, has been grappling with an escalating flood crisis. Year after year, torrential rains transform tranquil rivers into raging torrents, engulfing homes, businesses, and entire communities. The images are harrowing. Submerged cars, rooftops barely visible above murky waters, and families clutching what little they could salvage. For those directly in the path of these watery behemoths, the aftermath is a brutal landscape of devastation. Homes that once echoed with laughter now stand as waterlogged shells, their foundations compromised, their contents ruined. Businesses, once bustling hubs of economic activity, are reduced to rubble, their inventory destroyed, their dreams drowned. In such a desperate situation, when the government's aid often falls short and community resources are stretched thin, the last refuge for many is their insurance policy. It's a promise of a fresh start, a lifeline to recovery, a beacon of hope in the face of utter despair. Homeowners and business owners who have faithfully paid their premiums expect their insurance companies to honor their commitments, to provide the financial means to rebuild their lives. But as the floodwaters recede, a more insidious tide is rising, a wave of insurance claim denials that is shattering these hopes and leaving victims with absolutely nothing. Betrayal in black and white. The shocking truth about insurance denials. It's a pattern that's become depressingly familiar. When disaster strikes, be it a hurricane, an earthquake, or a flood, insurance companies, the very entities designed to provide a safety net, often seem to prioritize profit over people. Texas flood victims are discovering this harsh reality firsthand. Their claims, submitted with painstaking detail and desperate pleas for help, are being met with a cold, hard no. The reasons for denial can be myriad and often opaque. Insufficient evidence of damage, damage not covered under your specific policy, failure to meet policy requirements, or even pre-existing conditions, a claim often made despite the sudden, catastrophic nature of flood damage. Consider the family who meticulously maintained their home for decades, paying flood insurance premiums without fail. Their house is now uninhabitable, its walls crumbling, its electrical system destroyed. They submit their claim, only to be told that the source of the water ingress was not a covered peril, or that the damage was due to ground saturation rather than direct flooding. Such technicalities, often buried deep within complex policy language, become the cudgels with which insurance companies beat back legitimate claims, leaving homeowners bewildered and utterly helpless. This isn't just about financial inconvenience. It's about a profound betrayal of trust. These are individuals who planned for the worst, who diligently fulfilled their end of the contract, only to be abandoned when they needed help the most. The very companies they trusted to protect their most valuable assets are now turning their backs, leaving them to face an impossible choice: go into crushing debt to rebuild, or simply give up. From homeowners to homeless, the direct link to a soaring crisis. The immediate consequence of these widespread denials is a deepening financial crisis for countless Texans. Without the funds to repair or rebuild, homes remain uninhabitable. Businesses, unable to recover their losses, are forced to close their doors permanently, laying off employees and further crippling local economies. But the ripple effect extends far beyond financial hardship. It's creating a heartbreaking human crisis, a surge in homelessness. Imagine being a homeowner one day and living in a tent on the roadside of a major city the next. This isn't hyperbole. It's the grim reality for many flood victims. With no insurance payout to secure alternative housing, and often no family or friends with enough space or resources to take them in indefinitely, People are left with nowhere to go. They become part of the burgeoning ranks of the unsheltered, joining the existing homeless population and exacerbating an already dire societal problem. Families with children are particularly vulnerable. The trauma of losing their home is compounded by the instability of living in temporary shelters, cars, or even makeshift encampments. Children's education is disrupted, their sense of safety shattered, and their future uncertain. Elderly individuals, who often have limited financial resources and are less able to cope with physical and emotional stressors, are also disproportionately affected, facing a desolate future with nowhere to call their own. The sight of tents pitched along highways and underpasses in major Texas cities is becoming a stark reminder of this crisis, a visible scar left by the double whammy of natural disaster and corporate negligence. Deja vu disaster. Learning nothing from Los Angeles? This pattern of insurance companies reneging on their promises in the wake of disaster is not a new phenomenon. It's a recurring nightmare that has played out in various forms across the United States. Take, for example, the horrific downpouring that deluged Los Angeles. January 2025 saw Southern California ravaged by wildfires that tore through over 28,000 structures in the Los Angeles area. Homes, businesses, and schools, nothing was spared. The human cost was immense, with at least 27 lives lost. But beyond the immediate devastation, another catastrophe was brewing. An insurance crisis that pushed homeowners to the absolute brink. Since 2019, over 100,000 Californians have lost their insurance policies as major companies like State Farm and Allstate have strategically pulled out of the state's high-risk areas. State Farm alone recently canceled 72,000 policies, including a staggering 30,000 for homes. This exodus of insurers left countless homeowners vulnerable, essentially uninsured in a state increasingly prone to natural disasters. The consequence of these widespread denials and policy cancellations was swift and devastating. The homeless population in LA surged overnight, a direct result of families having no means to rebuild or recover their homes after the wildfires. This dire situation in California served as a stark warning, a cautionary tale of how the withdrawal and denial tactics of insurance companies can exacerbate a natural disaster into a full-blown humanitarian crisis. The tactics are often similar. Lengthy bureaucratic processes designed to wear down claimants, demands for excessive documentation, and ultimately, a denial based on some obscure clause or technicality. The Los Angeles experience serves as a chilling precedent for what is now unfolding in Texas. It highlights a systemic issue within the insurance industry, where the pursuit of profit often overshadows the fundamental purpose of insurance, to provide protection and support in times of need. The question isn't just about individual denials. It's about a broader trend that suggests a profound lack of accountability and empathy from these powerful corporations. If history is any guide, the flood victims in Texas are facing an uphill battle, one that many will ultimately lose, adding to the growing ranks of the dispossessed. Erosion of trust, the system under scrutiny. The increasing frequency of claim denials has a corrosive effect on public trust, not just in individual insurance companies, but in the entire system. When people faithfully pay their premiums for years, believing they're securing a safety net, only to have that net shredded when they need it most, faith in the insurance industry naturally erodes. This distrust can manifest in various ways. Some may choose to forego insurance altogether, opting to self-insure, a risky proposition, especially in disaster-prone areas. Others may become more litigious, leading to a surge in lawsuits against insurance companies, further clogging an already strained legal system. Moreover, this erosion of trust can have broader societal implications. If the private sector, specifically the insurance industry, is perceived as failing to meet its obligations during times of crisis, it places an even greater burden on government agencies and charitable organizations. This can strain public resources, diverting funds from other essential services, and ultimately leading to a less resilient society in the face of future disasters. The social contract, the implicit agreement between citizens and the institutions that are meant to serve and protect them, begins to fray when key players like insurance companies are seen as prioritizing their bottom line over the well-being of their policyholders. The road ahead, demanding accountability and protecting the vulnerable, The Texas flood crisis, exacerbated by widespread insurance denials, is a stark reminder of the urgent need for reform and greater accountability within the insurance industry. This isn't just a localized problem. It's a national concern that demands attention from policymakers, regulators, and the public alike. One critical area for focus is strengthening regulatory oversight. Insurance commissioners and state legislatures must ensure that insurance policies are transparent, easily understandable, and that the terms and conditions are clearly communicated to policyholders. There needs to be stricter enforcement of fair claims practices and swifter penalties for companies that engage in bad faith denials. This includes establishing clear guidelines for what constitutes a legitimate denial and providing accessible avenues for appeal and dispute resolution for policyholders. Furthermore, there is a need to explore legislative solutions that provide greater protection for disaster victims. This could include establishing state-backed insurance programs for areas highly susceptible to natural disasters, or creating a national catastrophic insurance fund that could provide a safety net when private insurance fails. The current system, which places the full burden of recovery on individual homeowners and businesses, often in a David and Goliath struggle against powerful corporations, is clearly unsustainable and unjust. Advocacy groups and legal aid organizations also play a crucial role in empowering flood victims, providing free legal assistance, offering guidance on navigating the complex claims process, and helping to identify instances of bad faith denials can make a significant difference in the lives of those struggling to recover. Public awareness campaigns are also essential to inform homeowners about their rights and responsibilities, and to highlight the red flags of potential insurance abuses. Finally, there needs to be a fundamental shift in the mindset of insurance companies. While profitability is a legitimate business goal, it should not come at the expense of ethical conduct and social responsibility. The very essence of insurance is to provide protection and peace of mind. When that core principle is abandoned in favor of maximizing profits, the entire system becomes compromised, and the most vulnerable members of society are the ones who pay the highest price. The rising tide of homelessness fueled by insurance denials in Texas is a tragedy that demands immediate attention. It's a stark reminder that in times of crisis, our systems must be designed to support, not abandon, those who have lost everything. By demanding greater accountability from the insurance industry, strengthening regulatory frameworks, and providing robust support for disaster victims, we can begin to mend the broken trust and ensure that no Texan or any American is left to face the devastating aftermath of a natural disaster alone and without hope. The future of countless families and the integrity of our social safety net depend on it.